Okay, so here we are, gaming once again on Linux Ubuntu. Today we are playing X-Plane 12, and I figured today we will try to fly a Cessna Skyhawk, the one with the floats, all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. And just so you guys know, the flight stick I'm using is the Logitech Extreme 3D Pro. So we'll go ahead and get the game fired up here. I'll select the Cessna Skyhawk. Fill it up to max fuel capacity. Of course, there's no way it's going to be able to make it across the Atlantic in one tank of fuel. So what I'm going to have to do is cheat. Anytime it gets probably around a quarter tank of gas, I'll have to pause the game, go into the menu, manually set the fuel all the way to full again, and just keep on flying. I'm doing this voiceover after the fact. The flight took about 22 or so hours. And of course, I'm not going to show the entire thing unless you guys want to see it. That'd just be kind of ridiculous. So what I'll do is just show you a few of the highlights. I'll show you where I took off from and where I landed. And just to let you know, the game actually crashed before I could land, probably because I had a massive 22-hour video recording file. My computer probably just couldn't handle it. So we'll go ahead and get it started here. So it actually took me a while to figure out which airport I wanted to take off from. I figured this one here, this Halifax airport, was actually the easternmost airport I could probably take off from to make the journey across the Atlantic the shortest I could potentially do. So my plan is basically to just keep flying east. I'll have to make slight corrections because we're actually going around the North Pole, so the compass might get a little funky. But I'll actually pull up Google Maps and I'll actually show you the approximate route I took along this flight. Okay, so here we have the Halifax airport that I took off from. Well, I really didn't take off. I set it to approach and just kind of turned to the right and just started heading east. So here is my approximate route that I took. Let's get a measurement tool out here. Set that approximately at the airport. I basically flew sort of this path right here. So it's about 2,700 miles. And like I said before, I'll show you the highlights. There were some goofy things that happened along the way. I stopped probably around this area right here. So it's probably about 2,600 miles. And then the game crashed, so I didn't actually get to land and complete the actual flight. But it's pretty interesting regardless. So I'll get back into the flight sim, and I'll show you some of the highlights. Okay, so here is where I first get to see the Atlantic Ocean, and besides these tiny little islands here, after we get past this, it's nothing but completely blue ocean for about 15 or 16 hours, maybe longer. I didn't actually time the flight, but it's something like that crazy. So, begin the long journey across the Atlantic here. Okay, so about 3.5 hours into the flight, here's the first goofy thing that happened. I noticed this object way out in the distance, couldn't figure out exactly what it was. As I'm getting closer here, you can see it's actually a hot air balloon, so I don't know if Lamina Research, if this is just a glitch, or if they threw it in there just as kind of a cute little Easter egg. But we'll do a quick little flyby here. Since it was basically directly in our flight path, I'm not going to deviate to check things out. I'm flying pretty much directly due east, just so we can get to the coast as quickly as possible. The other thing I forgot to mention too is we are flying at probably just a couple hundred feet elevation. I figured it would be more interesting to fly at this elevation than, 10, 15,000 feet up in the air, so we can see things like this when they happen. So I'll probably pick the video back up when it gets closer to sunset. As you can see, the sun is getting pretty low in the sky. So I'll pick it back up so you can see what that looks like. Okay, so here we are about another 3 hours later. So as you can see, the sun is setting. And if you notice off to the left there, that's actually an oil rig placed smack dab in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. That's something else that's kind of goofy that keeps popping up. I've noticed every 30 minutes or so. And if you look on the map, there's also looks like some type of frigate and an aircraft carrier. Those three things keep randomly appearing, along with the hot air balloons, of course, as we make this journey across the Atlantic. I'm not sure if it's just a cute little Easter egg they decided to throw in there or what, But we'll keep going here. Probably the next time I'll stop it is maybe around pitch black nighttime, just so you can see what the nighttime flying looks like. Okay, so here we are about another 6 hours later, I would say. We got the moon in the background, we got our strobe going. There isn't really much to see. It's smack dab in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and I'm pretty sure this is about the halfway point. So that's the other thing I forgot to mention too. So before I did this was actually before I knew how to actually program in autopilot on these Cessnas to actually make the journey across in an efficient way and not get lost. So probably the next time I will pick the video back up is during sunrise. That's also interesting to see. So I'll see you then. Okay, so here we are again. Here is the sunrise. If you can see, the sun is just starting to peek up above the horizon. There's also, looks like a flashing light there off in the distance. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I think we're getting pretty close. We should only have a few more hours to go. And of course, this is around the time where I got lost. I wasn't sure if I was actually going the right direction. So it kind of put me in the same shoes as a lot of other pilots that have flown across the Atlantic and didn't exactly know where they were going. Of course, hindsight, had I done this again, I would have just plugged in, a Spanish airport into the autopilot GPS, and it'll actually tell you exactly how far you are and exactly how, further you have to go. But maybe I'll do that in another video. For now, we'll just keep on going here. And right about here was when I breathed a huge sigh of relief. If you can see off in the right on our map, you can just see the coast of Spain, what I believed was Spain at the time. When I checked my map, you can actually confirm that it actually is Spain. So it was a huge relief to see that, because initially I wasn't sure if X-Plane you could actually make a journey across the Atlantic, particularly in a Cessna. I'd never actually seen anyone on YouTube do it. So it was good to know that it actually worked out. I didn't want to have wasted 10, 15 hours, just having my computer run for nothing. So it's good that you can actually do that. So I'll pick it back up when I actually hit the coast, and unfortunately the footage kind of stops after that because either my recording or the game crashed. I wasn't exactly sure, but I'll pick it back up then so you can see the coast of Spain. Okay, so here we are on the coast of Spain about 20 hours later. Something goofy that also happened. So I actually had to break this recording up on the second recording. For some reason, it stopped recording all engine noise from the aircraft. I'm not exactly sure what happened. So I could either, record and dub over this, but I decided you guys probably don't want to hear engine noise. And the other goofy thing that happened, my throttle got stuck open. So that also kind of freaked me out. So I was kind of planning, what I was actually planning to do was if I got close to the Spanish airport, I was just going to kill the power, turn everything off and just fly it in under its own power. And as you can see here too, I'm also trying to fight with the autopilot. For some reason, I couldn't figure out, and actually still don't know how to turn the autopilot off in this stupid thing without actually turning the key off. And what you're seeing right here, these are actually the last moments of the recording footage I actually have before everything crashed. So I thought about actually trying to fake it, taking off from a Spanish airport, trying to mimic exactly where I was, but I figured that would kind of take all the fun out of it. So that's probably where I'll end the video. I may do another one of these the proper way, or the way I should have done it was actually take off, plug the destination airport into the GPS unit, typically, like you would in a car. It would actually give me a readout of how many miles I have left to go in the journey. That probably would have been the smart way to do it. I'm kind of flying blind here. I figured it'd be more interesting just to head east and see what happens, but that's the thing about this game. You always learn something new every time you play it. So that's where I'll end the video. That should be about it. Thanks for watching.